could you talk about the recovery programs that you guys have going here?
Sure. So we participate in 2 federally run recovery programs, one for Mexican gray wolves, one for red wolves. And these are independently known as SAFE programs. So that acronym stands for Saving Animals from Extinction. And they're also overseen by the Association of Zoos and Aquariums. And we participate in both, and we have since the early 2000s. We are currently home to 10 critically endangered red wolves and 19 endangered Mexican gray wolves. Oh!
Wow.
So going for a little bit of a swim. And just to step back quickly from the recovery programs, talk about this. So wolves actually love water, and it's a great way to cool them off. And in the wild, they can actually swim very far distances, and they'll catch food. So it's fun giving Silas the opportunity to cool off, maybe drink the water if he wants to, but also kind of have some fun splashing around. You'll also see his soon-to-be brother is kind of peeking out as well. So Nakai is living in the neighboring enclosure. Nakai is 9 years old, and he's also a gray wolf. And he's experienced a bit of a rough last few days. His sister actually passed away Wednesday night. Her name was Alveus. And we imagine he's very excited to have Silas eventually come live with him, because wolves are quite social and they form family bonds that are just as strong as our family bonds. And he's been going through a bit of a grieving period. He also lost his older brother a year ago. And having Silas here, I think, is a nice welcome distraction for him. And having people here as well. You know, he really, he's used to having people here. He's used to seeing newcomers. But I think once Silas joins, it's going to be a lot of fun, a lot of play, some roughhousing, and I think Silas will enjoy it as well.
Yay. Is that bird still?
Yeah.
It's he's really, I mean, he's really intent on that bird.
But so yeah, so these 2 would be kind of one of our family groups, and we do have many others. The rest of our wolves do belong to those red wolf or Mexican gray wolf recovery programs. And the goal of both of those programs is to release wolves into the wild. So all of our red wolves and Mexican gray wolves that live here are considered to be pre-release candidates, which means they could be released into the wild, into their ancestral ranges at a moment's notice. So Rebecca, as the WCC curator, she is kind of the main contact or the liaison with AZA, the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, and she will provide information on the wolves here, if we have wolves born, their birth dates, and that information all plays into potential releases as well. So for example, one of our Mexican gray wolves named Trumpet gave birth to pups earlier this spring. She gave birth to a litter of 6, and 5 of those pups were actually chosen to be cross-fostered, which is when captive-born wolves are placed with a wild family that has pups the same age. And it's a great way to give those pups the opportunity to grow up wild. And so 5 of those pups went. We still have 1 pup remaining. He has been nicknamed Kazoo because his mom's name is Trumpet. And so with those cross-fostered siblings, they were placed with 2 separate families in the Southwest. And the goal is that they will grow up wild. They'll never have to see a fence. But we wish that for all of the adult wolves here as well. So we're hoping that family group releases, adult releases can resume, because every wolf should have the opportunity to live in the wild if there is a place in the wild for them.
Right.
So for a wolf like Silas, he's not able to be released into the wild. So that is why he is here as an ambassador. But every other wolf here besides Nakai could be released. And so we, part of our mission really is to not just educate in terms of teaching people about wolves, but educate about the current situation, facing wolves in the wild, and really inspire people to use that knowledge to speak up for wolves once they leave. So use their voices as well.
Cool. Yeah, the way this facility is set up is really cool, guys. I know some of you saw it when we were here last time, but they have a large part of their facility is not open to the public. Like the public can't go back there and see these wolves because they're release candidates. And then they have this area up front with the ambassadors, and they do education programs here. So it's a really cool setup. Hi, bud. Oh, not the... Please don't sever my cords. He loves this notebook. He really likes the notebook. He's very wet. And the boots. He likes the boots. Do you guys have questions you want me to throw out? We're going to do a Q&A at the end too. So if you have a question that you want answered, oh my gosh, you can do hashtag ask followed by your question, and we'll answer them at the end of the stream. Thank you for the $10 donation. Any questions? Any questions? Why is he chewing? Is a question.
Well, just like a puppy, he's teething. He's got puppy teeth still. And so just like your dog puppy likes to chew on everything and anything, he's going through the same stage in life. Yet, because he's a wolf pup, it's a lot more intense. And he's a lot more demanding.
Exploratory chewing. He found it.
He pounced on that.
I know, really. He's like, I'm going to get that. What are the biggest risks to wolf populations at the moment?
Great question. So the biggest risks would primarily be humans, and that really tracks for any population of wolves. Mexican gray wolves and red wolves, even though they're a federally endangered and protected species, they do still face high risks of poaching and even just, vehicle collisions, so things caused by humans. But for wolves in states like Montana, Wyoming, Idaho, where they're not protected, those states do have hunting seasons, and they're actually quite brutal. So in Montana, Wyoming, Idaho, people can hunt wolves just like Silas. And in Idaho and Wyoming, they can actually run them over with snowmobiles. It's a perfectly legal way to kill wolves in those states. And in Montana, there's now baiting of wolves, so using food to lure wolves into a certain area so you can kill them. And so what we see with wolves, when people are wanting to kill them, it's for no scientific reason, obviously for no ethical reason. It's more so for trophy hunting and for sport killing. So that is one of the things we're primarily focused on. Beyond the red wolves and Mexican gray wolves here, we do want people to understand that wolf recovery rests in the hands of people. There are several bills that have been introduced that would call for the delisting of wolves, removing them from the endangered species list. And we see that when that happens, it just leads to more killing. So we want wolves in areas to remain protected because they... the best science says that they need to be protected in order to better reach their recovery goals. And these recovery goals need to be updated based on new science and new metrics. So it's an ever-evolving process. But even at the end of the day, even if there are so many wolves out in the wild, it doesn't mean they should be killed. There's no reason to kill wolves. And that's something we also want people to understand as well, that they're, again, thinking, feeling beings. They're animals just like us, and they have great value to us, and it's not by killing them. But wolves face other challenges as well with red wolves and Mexican gray wolves because they both stem from a very small founding population size. Genetic diversity is a problem. Right now, wild Mexican gray wolves are roughly as related to one another as full siblings. And so increasing diversity is one of the main concerns, and that can be done by releasing adults from captivity, releasing family groups from captivity, because wolves here can often be a bit more diverse than the populations that they would be released into. So that would be a wonderful way to help as well.
Nice. Someone asked, what age do they start howling?
Oh, Silas is quite the howler, and he's been chatty for
we
weeks
did hear
already.
Him howl this morning.
So he's been quite the chatterbox, and we actually see a variety of vocalizations from him. He whines, he whimpers, he squeaks, but he does like to howl. And so he will sometimes howl with the other wolves here, but he likes kind of some nice, not too high-pitched, but he likes some low howls. So maybe when he's not distracted by his plant, Maybe we'll see if we can squeak out some howls
the
with
whole
him.
plastic pot.
See it in your face.